Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Inside Man United. My name is Rowan Brennan. Thank you again for joining me. If it's your first time, thanks for checking us out. This first episode that we're doing after the international break is just to do a bit of a diagnosis on the club. 4 games, 2 wins, not very convincing ones, 2 losses, and a lot has gone wrong with this club. I feel very sorry for Ten Hag, from midfield injuries, new recruits now having injuries, right wing issues. It's anything that could go wrong has gone wrong, and Ten Hag is really going to have his managerial nous tested to the fullest with everything that's going on with this club. A lot to get into, so let's get into it. Right, let's get into it. Erik Ten Hag has had a very rough go of it now. We haven't had a great performance from the beginning of the season, but he's had his hands tied behind his back in many different ways. Okay, the first game against Wolves, we had a reasonably full-strength team. The tactics just didn't quite work out. We got away with it, snatched victory from the jaws of defeat. But what it did show was the screaming need for Amrabat. But now Amrabat has been brought in with an injury. It seems that even the medical team knew about his injury, but just wanted to get him on board anyway and help him nurse and fix that injury. He's been carrying it since the World Cup, which is a concern, and it's still present. He said it came out of nowhere. He had to get injections to play through the pain so he could actually play in the final game of the World Cup that went to penalties. He ran 15K in that game. So it's concerning that he still has that injury and it's still niggling away at him. But hopefully with this international break now, it gives United time to address things going on within the club, politically, legally, related to discipline, related to injury, because anything that could have gone wrong has gone wrong. I'm going to do a deeper dive on the Arsenal game now that I've had kind of time to digest and look at the game fully and seeing what went right, what went wrong, and to kind of digest and get multiple perspectives on certain things that happen within that game. And I'll do that in a separate video. Right now, this is basically just a diagnosis of what's going on with the club. There's this diagonal line that's just kind of cut through the pitch, cut through our first 11 from the right-hand side to the middle of the park to the left-hand fullback. This just giant slice of problems has just appeared through United's team. With the left-back position, it was unfortunate to see Alvaro Fernandez not be given the nod and be given the confidence to start at left-back. It must be quite demoralising to see Luke Shaw and Malacia both be out and still not get the nod. But the fact is that if anything happened to Alvaro Fernandez, United were going to be royally screwed in that position. So bringing in a recruit was just intelligent. I don't think it's any reflection on Alvaro Fernandez. I think he's going to get minutes for sure. And Reguilon, I was calling him Regulion in other videos, so apologies if anyone was screaming at their screen at my mispronunciation. God knows I do that to people on podcasts and TV when they absolutely butcher people's names. So I now know it's Regulion, or sorry, Reguilon. Bloody hell. And so I think it was intelligent of Ten Hag to have to bring in additional cover. It's a lot of pressure, both physically, tactically. I mean, if anything happened to Alvaro Fernandez, we were really, really in trouble. So it was right to bring in another recruit. And to be fair, Diogo Dalot did really well at left back. He kept Saka very quiet. Despite the scoreline, Diogo Dalot did seriously well. And I think a huge amount of praise. Credit where it's due. He has not played well in the beginning of the season. His form has been up and down, very, very iffy for United since he's come in. He's lost the right back battle to Aaron Wan-Bissaka. But credit to Diogo Dalot for doing what he did in that game. A massive game to play out of position and mark what is one of the strongest attackers in the league in Bukayo Saka. And credit where it's due. And there's no reason why he can't continue in that position ahead of Reguilon and Fernandez if he continues to play like the way he did against Arsenal. Wan-Bissaka, one of the kind of undroppables now of our first kind of, 5, 6 main names on the team sheet. Wan-Bissaka has been excellent. He was very good as well. He kept Martinelli quiet. Dalot did very well on, I'm getting them mixed up. But they both kept their respective attackers, Martinelli and Saka, reasonably quiet during that game. And I think huge amount of credit should go to Dalot and Wan-Bissaka for the way they have kicked on and trained on. This leads me into Jadon Sancho. I can understand why people would be sympathetic to Sancho's current predicament, given how poorly Antony has played. But what Ten Hag wants at the moment is discipline and someone who listens and someone who trains hard over someone who's got more ability. Jadon Sancho is a better player than Antony. That much is abundantly clear. Now, that's not heaping praise on Sancho's abilities. It just means Antony has been that bad. Sancho's been very poor since he got to United. 56 games, 6 goals, 4 assists, or 9 goals and 6 assists or something like that. It's a very poor return. And Sancho can feel aggrieved that Antony is persistently being chosen ahead of him when he's been playing poorly. But clearly what Antony is doing is training well, listening to the manager and trying to do what he's told. You can see Antony's effort on the pitch. There's videos circulating now of Sancho in training where, you see Bruno Fernandes. This is like, summer training, heat training. And you can see Fernandes in the middle of the pitch doing his press-ups properly. And you see Sancho doing the no one's looking at me head dip press-ups like that. And you see this in SAS training. If anyone ever watches that SAS Who Dares Wins show, it's brilliant. I watch it all the time. They put hidden cameras on circuits to see if people will complete. It's an honesty test. So you'll see they'll have a camera set up in a tree hidden, and they'll have to go to a certain part of the circuit, which is away from the view of the trainers. And they have to do, 10 burpees, for instance, but no one's looking. And they see, number one, have they done all 10? Number two, did they do them with correct form? And then they ask them afterwards, did you do all 10? Testing their honesty. And then they'll show them the video evidence. And then they'll, I thought I did 10. And they're like, you're continuing to lie. You did 7. Like, can you not count? So they do these honesty tests. And one lady lied on that and continued to lie even when she was interrogated about it. And this lady went on to finish the course. And she wasn't passed at the end. 4 people out of the original 16, I believe, finished. 3 of them were passed. She wasn't passed. And it was down purely to the fact that she lied and continued to lie, even with the evidence produced to her saying, well, how did you not know that you didn't do 10? And they failed her on that. And she was actually very strong in everything else. I think the same thing is happening Sancho here. Now, Sancho was apparently put up for transfer and Ten Hag was open to having him leave, and apparently was offered to Chelsea during the Cucurella transfer negotiations. It's quite clear Ten Hag is finished with Sancho, and I think Sancho knows it, and I think he thinks he's got nothing to lose and is maybe trying to protect his reputation in the face of Ten Hag saying what he said during that press conference, because he knows a move is probably likely, and he wants to make sure that he's getting a move to a team that's in the top 6, that's in the upper echelons of Europe, rather than, going to a middling team who, is willing to take a punt on someone who is displaying such a lack of discipline with regards to their training, and a lack of discipline in regards, now he's made his discipline case look even worse by reacting the way he has. Aaron Wan-Bissaka was on the fringes of this team. Didn't complain. There was talk of Denzel Dumfries coming in. Other right backs being linked with Manchester United. Diogo Dalot coming in and taking his position for a while. Wan-Bissaka being mooted for a move back to Crystal Palace. Just didn't work out. Good defender, can't do anything in attack. And Wan-Bissaka did what every top professional should do. Shut up, put your head down, keep training. And that's exactly what he's done. He's listened to Ten Hag's instructions. He's taken on extra training with Ten Hag. Ten Hag has focused on him to try and improve his attack. And Wan-Bissaka has gone from strength to strength. Right back was no longer a concern. We weren't looking at people in that position. Diogo Dalot has now fallen behind him in the pecking order. And now Wan-Bissaka is an automatic starter for Manchester United's first 11. Well done, Aaron Wan-Bissaka. He is an example to every single person in that club, from the youth players to the existing 11 to guys on the bench. Shut up. Keep training. listen to the manager, do what you're told, and if you train well and the performances improve, you get to start. All managers say this. I don't pick the team, the players do. If you're the best player in that position, you get to start. Now, some people might think, well, Antony's starting ahead of Sancho and he's not been playing very well. Yes, but he's probably training well and he's listening and doing what he's supposed to be doing. The unfortunate thing is that this right wing at United is under absolute crisis. I don't think there is any example in the history of football anywhere across the globe where 250 million pounds worth of talent all playing in the same position, none of whom can now play because of disciplinary reasons. It's absolutely unheard of. I can't think of a single example where Greenwood is now gone because of disciplinary problems. Legally, whatever, it's a very deep, dark, winding hole, that. But he's gone because of disciplinary issues. Antony is now in the exact same boat as Greenwood, with this accelerating with his ex-partner making accusations of domestic abuse and violence, verbal, physical. And now Antony has been dropped from the Brazilian side pending this investigation, and now quotes are coming out from the accuser on what Antony has done. If that's also true, he needs to go. So that's 200. Now, say what you like about the valuation of Greenwood. That was a £100 million player. Given his age profile, what he's done, his talent, the goals he's scored, the way he's come in, the maturity he showed, at least on a football pitch, he's a £100 million player. Bar none. Bar none. Fact. He's definitely not worth less than 80 or 90. Antony, valued at 100, clearly not playing like a player like that, but that's his book value, £100 million or £80 million, €100 million. These two players now looking like they're going to have to be dropped. Now, what happens and develops in that case over the international break remains to be seen, but this isn't going to be going away anytime soon, and it's going to be ugly. And the exact same furore and chaos that surrounded Greenwood is now going to surround Antony. So if ever there was an opportunity for Sancho to stake his place for a position that now has literally no one else to step in, bar Facundo Pellistri, who has been playing well, but now is your chance, Jayden. And I know you might not like what Ten Hag did. I don't agree with what Ten Hag did. He shouldn't have outed the player, but he must be so exasperated. Maybe he's trying to get a reaction out of him. Now, Jadon Sancho's conduct at City, I actually agreed with it. He was playing well. He was very well thought of. He wanted to play himself into the first team. And then he's offered a big contract. And then they go and spend 100 million quid on Gabriel Jesus, Leroy Sané, Nolito, and Bernardo Silva. But no, we want you to stay and fight for your place. You've just spent an absolute truckload on 4 potential worldies. And then you're saying, I need to stay and fight, and I'm not showing enough bottle to stay and fight for my place. Look at Phil Foden. 4 years ago, he was going to be the next big thing for Man City. He still can't get in the team. Still can't get in. Mahrez has been sold. Gundogan has been sold. Grealish had a year where he wasn't really getting in the team. Shut his mouth, kept his head down, trained, got used to the system. Ta-da! Grealish now has was a key part of a treble-winning team and now has that left-hand side locked into place. So players have left and other players have arrived and Foden still can't get in. So Sancho was right to maybe go, yeah, I'm gone. Then he was dropped from the team that was touring the United States because he wouldn't sign his contract. And then he handed in a transfer request. Is that poor discipline? No. I see that as a player with a huge amount of confidence that's willing to back himself and go overseas. And look at what he did. He did worldly numbers. Now, I don't rate the German league. I don't. It's a tier 3 league. But people go, look at Haaland, look at Bellingham. Yes, I'm not saying, and no one else is saying, that high-class, world elite-level players can't come from Dortmund or from the Bundesliga. However, there is a huge risk in bringing players from that team and from that league because we've seen numbers, very, very good numbers, with players coming out of that league not translating into the Premiership. It has happened so often. Sancho hasn't done it. You can go, oh, it's the training, it's the tactics. Solskjaer dropped him because he didn't like his attitude. Rangnick dropped him because he didn't like his attitude. And Erik ten Hag has now dropped him because he doesn't like his attitude. He's given specialised one-to-one training 3 months away from the team on full pay to get him right. He came back in pre-season, looked okay, then was dropped. Clearly, his attitude is not good in training. He's come out and said, my training is good. Rio Ferdinand, one of his close mates, well, if he says he's a good trainer, he must be a good trainer. Get the boat, will you? I mean, I know Rio wants to protect his mate. This is a £75 million asset that's got pucks of potential, and he's still not getting his game. What? Because it's personal, because Ten Hag just doesn't like him. I don't think that's true. Sancho has priors for this at Dortmund. Take the City example out of it, okay? I'm actually on Sancho's side on that one. I think he did the right thing. He backed himself. He saw a very tough route, and he decided, listen, Dortmund's the place for me. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. Same as Bellingham. And he got his big move in the end, as did Bellingham and as did Haaland. It was the correct thing to do, so I'm not going to whip him with that. However, when he was at Dortmund, he was consistently reprimanded for poor discipline, missing training sessions, being late for training sessions, showing poor discipline, a poor attitude, and he was publicly outed for having this by the Dortmund board. Not training well, we haven't been happy with his attitude, he just needs to mature a little bit. So he was called out. And Jadon kind of made a statement, oh yeah, I'm still learning my trade, I'm still, learning and trying to be mature. People say I'm very mature for my age. Well, anyone at the clubs you've joined does not seem to think that, Jadon. So I'm training well despite what the manager says. Jadon seems to have a very strong opinion of himself, which you do need in football. But unfortunately, the guys that have paid to bring you into the club and are paying your wages and making decisions as to who has the best chance of getting a manager 3 points at the end of the game disagree. So unfortunately, Jadon, your opinion isn't what counts. It's the manager's opinion. You have to make yourself undeniable. It looks like Sancho was being put onto the transfer list over the summer. For one reason or another, didn't happen. Again, that's a rumor, but they seem to be strong rumors. Sancho has a golden opportunity to get himself in on that right-hand side. Antony looks like he could be suspended pending a further investigation. If not for that, his form, because, fans left, right and centre are crying out for Antony to be dropped. He has been very, very poor. Despite his training and his good attitude and his understanding of Ten Hag's tactics, it hasn't translated onto the pitch. It hasn't been good. Sancho does deserve his chance. But if you're not training well, you're putting the manager in a very tough position if you don't train well, that you still get to play. Because then it's a new Antony conundrum. Oh, well, he gets to play and he's not even training well. So then other players start to slack off in training because, well, it doesn't really matter, does it? So I can't remember the manager. I think it was Pochettino said, players aren't paid to play. They're paid to train. And it's a great quote. You're not paid to play on the weekend or in the middle of the week on your midweek fixtures. You are paid to train. And if you train well, you automatically start. You're not paid to come in and start every game. You're paid to come in and listen to the tactics, train, get fit, buy into the philosophy, buy into the culture of the club, buy into the tactical breakdowns, understand your role, and execute. And that all happens on the training pitch, not on match day. And Ten Hag seems to be echoing the same things that Pochettino's talking about. If you don't train well, you don't play. And that's just the way it goes. And I'm on Ten Hag's side here. I think he's a very fair man. He's a great man manager. He has revitalized Luke Shaw into one of the best left backs in the league, if not in the world. Aaron Wan-Bissaka is a man reborn. Marcus Rashford had the best season of his career. Varane started to play well, obviously because he didn't have Maguire beside him. This is a man who has a track record of training players on. So that's under no doubt. He managed to get a very average collection of players at Ajax to get to the Champions League semi-final and win 2 Eredivisie doubles. This is a guy who can manage a team. He can get more out of parts than what those parts are worth. He can collect parts and make them stronger than what they would be as individuals. Now, people are going out and saying, oh, well, look at Sancho. He did do it in Europe for Dortmund. He did it against big teams. He's able to do it against high-level opposition. There's no reason he can't do it in the Premiership. Yeah, Van de Beek did it in Europe as well for Ajax. Van de Beek did it. So did Gravenberch. So did Dusan Tadic and Haller and all these other players that have gone to clubs subsequently and beforehand and not done it correctly in better leagues and better teams. Ten Hag got 11 average to slightly above average individuals to play as a very, very strong collective. And he had issues in his first few months at Ajax as well. People calling for his head, results not going their way, people wanting Ten Hag fired when he moved from Utrecht to Ajax. And then He was given time, and he ends up putting together a very high quality and high performing team with individuals playing above and beyond their natural ability. And everyone has since come out since this issue has happened, and they're all backing Ten Hag. Sancho's in real trouble here, and he had an opportunity to, make a late charge to, recover his reputation both within the club, internally and externally with the fans who have started to kind of, feel the same way about Sancho as they do about Anthony and many other players that just are not doing it. Is this another Lingard? Is this another Pogba? You're trying everything to try. We've played him on the right. We've played him as a false nine. We've played him on the left. We've given specialist training. We're just trying to eke something out of him. He's not giving it to us. Eventually, the player has to assume full responsibility for a lack of performance on the pitch. And he has not been able to translate that Dortmund performance for United. He's the highest paid player. He's 300 grand a week, this kid. And he's not even close to performing what his book value is. It's absolutely crazy. It's really unfortunate because he had an opportunity here. What does Ten Hag do? His hands are tied. Unless a public apology is made by Sancho, I'd say that today in training was something else. Ten Hag making a beeline for Sancho, or Sancho having to make a beeline to Ten Hag and go, okay, just hear me out. This is a real bad situation for the club and for Sancho, and another tough thing for Ten Hag to have to deal with. 2 midfielders out, 2 left backs out, 2 right wingers out. Injuries all over the pitch. Varane is injured. Martinez has a knock. Lindelof is now sick. We're now finishing games with Maguire and Johnny Evans. What is happening? It's crazy. So a big set of problems for Ten Hag to have to fix. I don't think this international break could have come at a better time to give us time to get players back from injury, to get Varane and Martinez back in those centre-half positions, to get Amrabat back in the midfield, to maybe get Sancho out on that right-hand side, to bed Reguilon in, and maybe Diogo Dalot continues there. This international break could not have come at a better time. A lot of problems for Ten Hag to have to mull over this 2-week break. He's going to need it. Thanks for tuning in. Hit like and subscribe. See you on the next one.